Okay, I'm Brian Sims on my farm here, which is about 12 k's south of Kaitaia. I've spent the last 45 years farming here and gradually converting it from mostly fern and tea tree into the reasonably good pasture and lots of tree planting as well. The property is 111 hectares. I've planted about 25 hectares in trees. 20 of those hectares are a big block of pines, and the rest are various other species, mainly blackwood, but I have played around with other species as well. Okay, well, the older I get, the more I appreciate the value of trees as to the attractiveness of the landscape. And one of the reasons I favour planting blackwoods is that they blend in really nicely, in my view, with the native bush. In front of us out this way you can see a patch of mature native forest which would never have been logged. And to the right of that there's a patch of blackwoods that don't look out of place in my view. And so I think that's something I would like to encourage people to think about when they're planting, as to the eventual look of the place. Okay, what we're looking at here is an area which slipped badly in big rains in 2007, took out a roadway and a couple of fences, and the basic reason is that too much water was flowing down into a dip in the road. So I've rerouted the road so the water does not go down where the slip area is, and I've planted trees in there to stabilise it, and I've chosen blackwoods because I know that they grow just in bare clay and they have a really good strong root system, and there's potential for income from timber from them as well. Okay, well, we're looking at a 20 hectare block of radiata pine, planted 18 and 19 years ago, and the basic reason was because the land is even more unstable than the rest of the farm, so I converted it from pasture to what I hope will be a retirement fund. It's actually a joint venture forest, so we share the expenses and share the profits at the end. I didn't give enough consideration to the cost of getting the trees out. There'll be about 2 kilometres of roading needed just to get onto the property, and these days it seems like roads have to be metalled, and so I anticipate the roading will be pretty expensive. Also, the land is quite steep, and it'll almost certainly need cable hauler equipment. The road will be expensive to begin with, but it will be there for a second rotation and a third perhaps. My plan is that I will harvest these trees and then sell the land, which is on a separate title. This is yet another unstable hillside, and I've tried to improve the stability by planting a single row of blackwoods here, which as always involves putting another fence along it. These are 14 years old. There's 12 trees, and I think there's potentially quite good money in these just 12 trees. It takes quite skilled silviculture work to achieve this, starting off with about 5 times as many trees as what are here and selecting the best, and then working on them quite intensively with pruning. A very large slip occurred here in the 1950s, and it basically gradually reverted to tea tree. And when I finally got around to starting to plant trees, the tea tree would have been about 4 to 5 meters high. So I cut light wells in the tea tree and planted blackwoods. There are quite significant advantages to planting in this sort of situation, in that you get a much higher, taller tree. These ones here are mostly about 6 meters high, pruned, whereas out in the open it's quite, on average you get about 4.5 meter log. I found it a lot of work planting in amongst big tea tree, because I had to keep increasing the size of the light well as time went on, and felling tall tea trees, trying not to damage your growing blackwood, is quite a trick. New Zealand grown blackwoods, clear, so had good silviculture treatment, worth about $3,000 per cubic metre, sawn timber. Okay, over here is, I guess you'd call it agroforestry, although I don't really talk of that. I think of it as multi-use forestry, and so they are there because that hillside has been gradually moving with big rains over the years, and I wanted to stop that, and I believe I have successfully. And most of those trees are either blackwoods or silky oaks. There's 1 or 2 eucalypts and a few liquid ambers. Part of the plan is to have a group of trees that looks beautiful, and to my eyes they do. I've done silviculture on them, so looking at potential income. I've been planting trees since the mid-80s, and what partly spurred me into action was a brief conversation with Richard Ward, who some of you may know about. He said, "Brian, you must plant blackwoods." I started going to farm forestry field days at that point to learn a bit about this business of growing trees, because I basically knew nothing. And over the years I've been to many farm forestry field days, and I've learnt a huge amount, or virtually all I know, from going to those field days and then putting it into practice on this farm here. Trees have given me a lot of personal enjoyment. I've really loved growing and looking after these trees. They've added to the beauty of the property markedly, improved the quality of the water in the streams, and provided lots of habitat for birds. In fact, before I started planting trees, there was never a kiwi to be seen, and very few wood pigeons, but now kiwi are here, and wood pigeons are plentiful as well. And there's that pine block out the back there that is potentially worth quite a lot of money for retirement.